Hold your horses there, Nelly.
Eavesdroppin.
Oh, Michelle, I see you.
You always see me.
I see you. I hear you. I'm here for you. I am recognizing that you are a person standing before me, and I hear you and I see you. You are being seen.
What the hell is that from? What is that from? Something? Is that from your counselling course?
Well, actually, I have been working on my website this week, so there's been a lot of seeing and hearing. And also, I've realised that I like to be seen and heard.
I mean, we wouldn't be doing this podcast if we didn't want to be heard.
No one can see us apart from you and I.
Thank God, because I'm in my cleaning outfit.
Oh, I thought it looked quite nice. Nice change.
I've got my cleaning fleece on, and I've got my cleaning hair.
Oh, it felt like you'd made an effort today.
Oh, my God. It doesn't take much, does it, to look like I've made an effort?
Never mind that, because you lovely eavesdroppers can't see us, but you're here for the ear candy. Am I right? Is that what you're here for?
Ear candy crush. What's your favourite candy, Geordie?
Oh, what's my favorite? I like jelly things, like wine gums and
gummy.
snakes. Oh, I could smash a whole packet of those snakes. Not the really toxic ones that you get in Australia, but the ones here. They're also in Australia as well, the Natural Sweetie Company or whatever it's called.
Oh, I love an Allen snake.
Not the Allens, I don't like them.
Snake? Oh, I love...
Aren't they called Snakes Alive?
Snakes alive, they are. I think they were better when they were full of all the bad E numbers. You know, the red ones were probably the worst, but the tastiest. And they've changed the recipe. They're not so yum anymore. But I do love Australian lollies. Musk stick. I love a musk stick.
Musk sticks are too sweet, Michelle. That's too sweet.
For you.
And that never really appealed to me, that soft, weird. But listen, I want to tell you about Instagram. Fucking hell. I just can't get off it.
What's happened?
I'm addicted. I reach for that nowadays when I'm bored. If I need a dopamine hit, I just scroll and scroll.
Doom scrolling.
Not doom scrolling. I'm food scrolling. I'm hair scrolling. I'm scrolling away with all sorts of... I follow so many different things on our Eavesdroppin _ account, actually. And there's a new account I've discovered, because you know I like those ones with the music videos where they take the music away and it's Prince like burping and stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
But now I found one called Scarred for Life book, which shows a trilogy of books about the dark and weird pop culture of the 70s and 80s.
Oh, I love it already.
Such as The Black House. That was what it was. A Black House from... And it was a vintage film by John Smith. It's an architectural horror, Michelle. So it's just a little film that they showed probably back in the 70s and 80s. And some of our peers may have seen it in England, probably not Australia. It's about this mysterious black building that just appears everywhere this poor chap goes.
Ooh.
And it is just a blob of a building. Like, where's that come from? Why is that there? He's showing his friends and stuff. I only saw a clip, but it's a metaphor for depression. And it can be seen on YouTube. So... go and check that out.
Wow.
John Smith.
Okay.
And it's called Scarred for Life, and it's a book. There's an Instagram account and it's on YouTube, the little things he shows.
I will have to check that out. It sounds very interesting. I don't know why, but it just reminded me of David Lynch and how many of his films use dream reality as normal reality. And we all know that dream reality is fucked up reality.
Well, it's not reality, is it?
No, but
it's dream.
But it is in your dreams. In your dreams, somebody looks at you and they turn their head, but their face is on the back of their head. So they're always turning their head and their face is always in front of you. You know, just crazy stuff. Like dreams are crazy, but in your dreams, it feels normal.
That's just reminded me of that film with... oh, what's his name? Of course it's gone. Of course it is. I don't remember anything these days. Jacob's Ladder. Tim Robbins.
Yes.
Not Tom Ribbons, but Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You know, I saw that and it freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah.
I'd gone to see you, 1991.
Oh.
Actually, this would have been in 92. I'd left London. I'd gone to Hungary. I was traveling solo on my own and I was a bit lonely, you know, a bit depressed.
Yeah.
My boyfriend had just gone and I was on...
He fucked right off.
He'd fucked right off. I thought, I'm just going to go take myself to the movies. Well, I went to see that.
Jacob's Ladder.
Because it was an English film.
You didn't know.
It was an English-speaking film and I was like, I'll go see that. I don't know anything about it. Came out of that movie theatre. It had scared the shit out of me. I didn't trust
frightening.
anyone. I was looking around. I was terrified.
It does make you feel like you're in another reality, doesn't it? I think that's based on MK Ultra and things like that. I think that's the idea behind it. I won't say any more because people might not have seen it. Pop it on the list, Michelle. Over at Patreon, by the way, eavesdroppers, we have a massive list. And it's got all the television recommendations that have been brought to us by our lovely eavesdroppers, you, that is, or things that me and Michelle have watched. She puts them in there. And I had cause to have a little root round in there the other day, Michelle.
And?
Well, I didn't watch anything off there, but I did think, what's next? And I'm looking in there. There are a few things.
Yeah.
But instead, I stumbled across something on Apple TV called Criminal Record with Peter Capaldi and Cush Jumbo. It was similar in a way to Line of Duty, not as good, can never be as good, but it's still a gritty Britty, and I loved it. I've just finished it. So good.
Well, I'm still on the edge of my seat for the next episode of White Lotus.
Oh, okay.
That is ramping up.
I'm not watching that yet. I have to wait.
I'm still loving the fashion. It's making me want to go back to Thailand. I mean, I want to go back to Thailand. I love
Who doesn't want to go to Thailand?
It just made me want to rewatch the last season in Sicily because I love Sicily. And I don't know, it's making me feel like I want to travel.
You need a holiday, babes.
I do. I need a freaking holiday.
Fair enough. Eavesdroppers have been writing in, Michelle.
Before we do that, have we introduced ourselves?
Oh, shite.
Oh, shikey shikes.
I'm Geordie.
And I'm Michelle. You're listening to Eavesdroppin, the podcast.
We congratulate you for it.
Yeah.
Well done. Give yourself a pat on the back.
Well done, you. You've done well.
You've made it this far.
And maybe you found us through a recommendation. Maybe you went onto Apple and you found us that way. But either way, if you listen and you love it, give us 5 stars.
Oh, please do that. Yes, we have to keep reminding people, if you like it, please just sign up. And even if you don't want to listen to it all the time, just make sure you press that subscribe button because it helps us. And give us a review on Apple, on Spotify, on all the other things. Please.
And if you give us a good one, we'll read it out.
Hey, that's a good idea. We'll read out things. More shout-outs.
We'll read out your review and give you a shout-out.
Everyone loves a shout-out. Here's one for Charlene, Happy Chappy. She writes in a lot, which I love. She wrote in something on the back of the Pontefract Poltergeist episode a couple of weeks ago. I got freaked out whilst actually recording that episode, Michelle.
Yes, I remember.
Because I was in this recording room and it was a bit dark at night and we were a bit hungover and it just got to me, especially that target being drawn on someone's back by an invisible finger. Well, Charlene said that she was a little chilled because it was at night when she listened, and she said that there's a cat that usually knocks on their window.
Aww.
But he didn't visit that night, thankfully, or she would have gotten quite the fright. And I wondered after reading that message, Charlene, is it a real cat? Or is it a ghost cat?
I think if she can stroke that pussy, it's probably a real cat.
She didn't mention stroking the pussy.
Well,
Sorry, Charlene, about that.
sorry. And Magzo is listening. Sorry if I offended you too.
Charlene's mother, Margaret, she's talking about. Moving on, Shari responded to your Carrie story. She said that there were mean girls who picked on scabby kids at her school as well.
Oh.
Because she got bullied for having a scar on her face after a crash on her Malvern Star. For those of you who didn't grow up in Australia, a Malvern Star was my first bike.
And mine.
It's a type of Australian bicycle, isn't it? It's amazing. What was the other one? There was another type of bike. What was the other one? With a long seat. I had a flag, big red flag on mine.
Orange.
So embarrassing.
The orange flag and the banana seat.
Banana seat. That's not a Malvern Star,
That's
though.
not.
That's something else.
No, that was something else.
But the Malvern Star, you had to cycle backwards to brake.
Yes, the back brakes. It took me a long time to understand that you could brake from your hands. I was always trying to do the back brake, but what a nightmare because you didn't have the control. The back brake, you would be like skidding.
Oh, that's why you have crashes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a poorly designed bike. Sorry, Australia. And then Safka chimed in. She also loved the Carrie episode. Michelle, there's a lot of people out there that just love the film and the book of Carrie. So she loved that. She said she also liked my story about the poltergeist too, but I think Carrie really was the big deal. She usually writes in with a lot of recommendations, but she's not recommending Love Megan on Netflix because Meghan Markle is so out of touch with reality, Safka said. She said, as if anyone has time to be dicking around with arranging the kids' fruit plate in rainbow shapes and putting handwritten labels on everything. She couldn't believe that Netflix spent money making this shit. They're her words.
Well, Netflix spend a lot of money making all sorts of shit, and I've got something coming up to talk about, which I haven't even watched. Meghan Markle, what a waste of time. Because...
Did you watch?
No, I'm not even talking about her series. I'm just talking about her.
Michelle.
Well, come on, what is she actually doing except trying to build a brand? That's all she's doing, a personal brand. She basically wants to be an influencer and nobody wants to be you, babe. No one. I'm just saying. Is that mean?
You're mean. You're a bitch.
Am I one of the mean girls?
Yes, you are.
Funny that we're talking about Australia, Netflix.
Is it funny? Oh, fancy that.
Funny as in strange, as in maybe it was meant to be because you were also talking about how you food scroll.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it seems like, Geordie, everyone right now is talking about that Netflix series, Apple Cider Vinegar.
Oh, ACV?
ACV. I've not seen it. Full disclosure,
Okay.
haven't had time. Going to, though, because...
Everyone's talking about it, apparently. Is it going to be on the list?
Yes, it's going to be on the list because it is causing one hell of a hoo-ha, mainly with people saying about the Australian protagonist. Why did this woman never do jail time?
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about. Is it a documentary?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's not a documentary.
It's not. Is it or isn't it? I'm very confused.
Okay, it is a true-ish story based on...
Dramatization.
It's a dramatization, but it's not a documentary. I don't know why I said yes. I just jumped in. I jumped the gun too fast when I said that.
Think before you speak.
You tricked me. It's because I thought, surely you've heard about this apple cider vinegar.
No, I haven't.
Right. Well, for anyone who does not know what I'm talking about, I am today dipping a carrot stick into the hummus of fake wellness guru Belle Gibson.
You've just made me hungry.
Am I? She decided she was going to be a wellness influencer on Instagram. And basically, in order to get followers, she pretended to have cancer and then tell the world that she cured it through clean eating.
Oh, God.
And her story is pretty fucked up. Just saying.
All right. Are you going to tell it to me?
Yeah, I am, because I will just preface this by saying I'm not a fan of this bitch. So this is not going to be a well-rounded, open-minded look at this woman.
I hope she gets a fair trial, Michelle. Trial by podcast.
Not by me. Not by me. So I thought, let's go back to the beginning. Annabelle Natalie Gibson was born on the 8th of October, 1991 in Tasmania. Tasmania.
Tasmania.
Have you ever realised mania is in that word?
Yeah. Mania. Come to Tasmania.
Yes.
Tasmaniacal.
Yes.
Mapataz.
Well, I'm actually stopping the story right there because even that's a lie, Geordie.
What?
On a 60 Minutes interview, 60 Minutes Australia, that is, from 2018, she said, when asked by the reporter, how old are you? She said, I've always been raised as being currently a 26-year-old.
What?
Yeah. So the reporter is like, how old are you? It's a very simple question. And Belle Gibson is like, I believe that I'm 26.
What the?
I know. She said, I have 2 birth certificates. I've had my name changed 4 times.
What?
Apparently, she's 23. But she will not admit.
Who wants to be older by 3 years?
I don't know.
I certainly don't.
Nobody does. I mean, you know, in your 20s, you don't think 3 years is that much. But let me tell you.
It does get significant later on,
It does indeed. This woman, girl, fake, con artist, fraudster, she will not admit to anything. It is all semantics with her. And this is how she navigates her way through the whole fake wellness guru sham. She blames everyone else and kind of makes out like she's the victim. I don't know anything. Even her history is up for debate.
Wow.
In some reports, she says her family moved to Brisbane and she left home at age 12 to live with a friend.
What?
Yeah. In other reports, she says she dropped out of school in year 10. In other reports, she says she was homeschooled.
Okay, make up your mind, lady.
Well, she doesn't know what's true. You cannot trust a word that comes out of this bitch's mouth.
You think she's confused as well about her backstory because it's gotten so convoluted and out of control. Yeah. What does my mum say?
Oh, what a wicked web we weave or something.
When first we practice to deceive.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. We got there in the end.
Thank you. Bloody hell.
Well, you cannot trust anything, this woman says, because even if you ask her, you are not going to get a straight answer. And I say this after watching that 60 Minutes interview with her, where with total disingenuousness, she sat with this reporter and just barefaced lied about everything.
So you did watch something?
I watched that instead of apple cider vinegar. I actually watched the real Belle Gibson rather than this dramatisation. Because 60 Minutes, before they got her on, and apparently she was paid for the interview, which is quite controversial, but they made her sign a statutory declaration stating that she would only tell the truth on the show. But the whole interview is so extremely confusing. And like I said, full disclosure, I'm biased about this bitch. What this woman did is disgusting. So let's just get into it.
Let's find out.
So basically, in 2009, Belle Gibson was apparently given the news that she had inoperable brain cancer and had only 4 months to live. So she gives chemotherapy and radiotherapy a try. But it doesn't work. So she thinks, I'm going to give alternative medicine and healthy eating a try. And voila! She cures her brain cancer. And she hits Instagram in 2013, just when Instagram and the whole influencer wellness movement was really blowing up. She gets on there to tell the world all about her miracle. Her username was Healing Belle, and her feed quickly went viral. Her pics were really good, and her whole Instagram feed was perfectly curated. Her posts were all about how she healed herself naturally through clean eating rather than doing traditional chemo and radiation. Her feed was full of pictures of her laughing, drinking a juice.
A juice?
Oh my God, I healed myself. Yes.
Michelle, I have a quick question. This was in 2011, you said? 2013, sorry. How old was she?
Who knows? Because she won't even tell you her fucking age.
Well, you said that she's currently thinking that she's 26, but she's probably 23. This is now. And if it's
No.
Oh.
So on 60 Minutes, she said in 2018 that she thought she was 26.
But even if she was only 23, that's 4 years. That she would have been
in her late teens.
In her late teens, yeah. It's just, it troubles me. She's a young person.
This whole thing is troubling.
I feel like she needs some sort of guiding hand,
i.e. mental help. So she latched onto this whole Instagram thing. And like I said, you know, her feed was full of recipes and, you know, plans for organic meals and juices. And she was touting the miracle benefits of the Gerson diet, which is an organic vegetarian diet with supplements and coffee and castor oil enemas.
Oh.
Yeah, she was like, you know, piping coffee and oil up the a-hole. In 2013, she then released a paid-for recipe app called The Whole Pantry that got, within a month, the top rating in the Apple App Store.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
How did she do that?
Fuck knows. Tell us your secret.
Belle, give us a hand.
She earned $500,000 in less than 2 years from the Whole Pantry brand. She released a cookbook in 2014 through Penguin, which was also a top seller, because you've got this gorgeous girl who's young, who beat brain cancer, and she's a young mum at this stage. She beat brain cancer. She looks like the epitome of good health. Thick hair, glossy hair, beautiful skin. And she is really the poster girl for the alternative wellness movement that was happening and the picture-perfect influencer. And of course, people would write to her asking for advice on how to treat their cancer conditions. And she would suggest foods and treatments that could help them heal. This bitch is not a doctor, by the way.
Were the things that she recommended, were they safe?
Well, I'll get into this and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
So, to be clear, this is a cancer con. She gets a book deal.
Right.
She's selling stuff through her scammy app. Penguin Books and Apple are behind it. They're all over it. She's even voted Best Wellness App of the Year. Plus, she's getting paid to do celebrity appearances because she is this hotshot influencer. She has hundreds of thousands of followers from all over the world, and she is inspiring other cancer sufferers all over the world to ditch normal cancer therapies and put their trust into her recipes and her healthy eating regime. Because if it worked for Belle, it could work for you.
Yeah, of course.
In a BBC article that spoke to a woman called fake name Kylie from Australia, that's exactly what she did in 2013. Kylie was 6 months into a really brutal chemo regime for treating her, at that point, recently diagnosed lymphoma, when someone said to her, "Have you heard about this girl, Belle Gibson?" So this girl, Kylie, does a quick search on Instagram, took her straight to Belle's beautifully curated profile with pics of Belle eating healthy food, looking gorgeous and well and healthy and happy, and talking about how she recovered from cancer. And comments from people from all over the world made this account really inspiring. And poor old Kylie, well, she's fucked from her chemo. She's losing her hair. She's looking like shit. And here she sees Belle living her best life, cancer-free.
Yeah, she wants a bit of that.
Well, Kylie's like, look at this girl. I'm doing it all wrong. I need to ditch the chemo. I need to ditch the radiotherapy. I need to stop having all my lumbar punctures and just give clean eating a go. If it worked for Belle Gibson... So she bought Belle's cookbook, she bought the app, the whole pantry, because it had to be legit, right? You know, the brand was backed by a penguin. The brand is backed by Apple.
Yeah.
So surely Belle's road to recovery through clean eating and superfoods was 100% above board, especially with quotes from Belle's book, like, quote, "I was empowering myself to save my own life through nutrition, patience, determination, and love."
Wow.
So Kylie was in. If Belle could cure her cancer with clean eating, so could she. And Belle's story was everywhere. It was in magazines. It was on the news. You know, she was doing morning TV shows and she was the poster child for how to cure cancer and live well. So Kylie quit all her treatment and dedicated herself to clean eating. She got worse.
Of course.
And eventually she did return to normal medicine, and eventually she did go into remission, and she is now still in remission, thankfully.
Thank God.
But this also is the story of a woman called Maxine, who's a woman from the UK, who since the age of 11 had struggled with ulcerative colitis, which is a chronic inflammatory disease of the large intestine. She discovered Belle. She was calling her Queen Bee of Wellness. Maxine was on medication to manage her symptoms, which were really awful. Diarrhea, loss of blood, abdominal pain, fatigue.
It's rough.
And she found Belle's app, the whole pantry, and she thought, if she can do it, I can cure myself with healthy eating. I don't even have cancer. I just have this. So she thought, I can beat it. In an interview with BBC Three, Maxine said, quote, "It reinforced this ridiculous belief in my head that you didn't need meds in order to manage the condition." So she said she adopted a plant-based diet, cut out loads of supposedly toxic foods like animal products and gluten and carbs. But before long, Maxine became so underweight that she lost her period and her health was just going down the drain.
Oh, no.
And she said, quote, "After the initial sort of placebo effect, it all just came crumbling down. In my mind, I was thinking, I'm just not eating healthy enough. I'm not doing enough of the right things. I could be eating even cleaner than I already am. But," she says, "the more I chased this perfect diet that wellness presented, the more unwell I got, and the more I kept blaming myself for not being perfect enough." She too did eventually return to normal medicine, and she is successfully managing her illness. And Geordie, I will say here, around this time in 2014, a friend of mine's mum got cancer.
Yeah.
I remember my friend telling me that she'd read, when she was researching alternative therapies for her mum, she'd read about this woman who cured her cancer through healing foods and alternative eating, and that her mum was pretty much not going to do chemo or radiation.
Because she feels that this is the way to get better. I've heard this from quite a few people, you know?
Yep.
Indirectly.
And so she was just going to give healthy eating a go instead. Look, this was 10 plus years ago, and I'm not sure if the person she was, referencing was Belle Gibson.
Right.
And I don't remember whether her mum did eventually give traditional medicine a go or not, but she passed away.
Oh, God.
And this shit is insidious. It is so shady. It's deceptive. It's selling snake oil to desperate and vulnerable people, but with tragic consequences. So then, in July 2014, Belle wrote on her Instagram account that she had been diagnosed with a further 4 cancers, Geordie.
What?
Quote, "It's in my blood, spleen, brain, uterus, and liver."
Oh.
Poor girl. I mean, so unlucky.
Well, that can be the secondaries, because cancer, you can cure and be in remission, and then a little cell can escape somehow, some way, even though you're being checked, and it can lodge itself somewhere else and then take root.
Fair enough.
So it does happen.
Yes, fair enough. I agree. It's really unlucky because, here's this sick young mother. She has a kid.
Who? Belle Gibson?
Yes. At this time, she had a kid. And that was part of the reason why I didn't want to do chemo, because I found out I was pregnant.
Okay. This is all fairly legit by the sound of it, though, I would probably believe that too.
Well, you were about to say fall for it. Because, look, she's this sick young mother who's got a kid. She used whole foods and natural therapies to defy the odds where conventional medicine failed her because, quote, she said, "I've been healing a severe and malignant brain cancer for the past few years with natural medicine, Gerson therapy, and foods, and it is working for me." So how the fuck did she pull the wool over everyone's eyes?
And how did we find out that she did?
I'm getting to that. Hold your horses there, Nelly. So in her cookbook, The Whole Pantry, in the foreword, she wrote, "I had a stroke at work. I will never forget sitting alone in the doctor's office 3 weeks later, waiting for my test results. He called me in and said, 'You have malignant brain cancer, Belle. You're dying. You have 6 weeks, 4 months tops.' I remember a suffocating, choking feeling and then not much else." But there was no doctor. There was no doctor's office and no test results. Instead, Belle's revisionist story is that in 2009, she met a man called Mark Johns, who told her he was an immunologist and neurologist. Although, on the 60 Minutes report, the researchers found no evidence that this guy, Mark Johns, ever existed.
Okay.
And Belle has not produced this guy. He's Mr. Nobody.
So we don't say that. That's that scary guy from my poltergeist story from 2 weeks ago.
He is Mr. Nowhere Man.
Oh.
And then Belle says this guy, Mark Johns, went to her house.
Not like a clinic where they met. No, he went all the way to the house, because doctors love to do that. They love a house call.
Oh, yes. I mean, how many house calls have you ever had in your fucking life?
I think I've had one when I was about 3.
Okay. That was back when doctors still did that shit.
They did that then.
Yes.
Back in that decade, yes.
Does not exist. So this guy goes to her house. He does a series of tests he calls integrative medicine using, quote, this is from her, "a box, a machine with lights on the front, and that machine was apparently German technology. There's 2 pads, 2 metal pads. One goes below the chair and one goes behind your back. And then that measures what I believe or remember to be frequencies. And he said to me, I had stage 4 brain tumour and I had approximately 4 months to live."
So this was the revised version. It wasn't the guy who came out and very bluntly said, "You've got 6 weeks, 4 months tops. See ya."
So the reporter grills her then and says, "Why did you write in your book that you got this prognosis from a doctor in a doctor's office?" And Belle's like, well, and this is a quote, "telling people the way it happened would not be understood."
Huh?
So she knows that people are not going to believe her fucking hokey medicine man who comes in with a box with some lights on it that's apparently German technology, right?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So the reporter then goes on to say, "You claimed also in your book that you underwent chemotherapy and radiotherapy for 2 months. True or false?" And Belle says, "I believed I was having radiotherapy. When he gave me medication, I was told it was oral chemotherapy, and I believed it. So it's true.
She's quantified it that way.
So basically, whatever you throw at this scammer, she's just going to say, yeah, I was told it was cancer, so I didn't lie.
Therefore,
I was told,
wasn't lying.
Yeah, I was told I was taking chemo. I'm not a liar.
Yeah.
Someone told me I was 26. I'm not a liar.
Okay.
It's fucking shocking.
It's not my fault.
It's not her fault. But Belle's history of lying started even before she began her Instagram account.
Yeah.
In 2009, she supposedly had 3 heart operations, suffered 2 cardiac arrests, died twice on the operating table, had a stroke, and was diagnosed with inoperable brain tumour and given 4 months to live. None of this is true, despite the fact that she wrote online, this is quote, "I had surgery about 7 hours ago. The doctor comes in and tells me the draining failed, and I went into cardiac arrest and died for just under 3 minutes. I had the most intense bruising from the paddles when they electrocuted me back to consciousness, minus the wires and constant throwing up of blood. Anyway, the procedure failed and I died."
And I died.
And I died.
And then like 2 little peace signs and a tongue sticking out on her Instagram account. What the fuck? So she's now announcing to the followers, by the way, guys, it didn't work. Sorry about it. I'm dead.
So this was in 2009 before she became Belle Gibson, the influencer. This was when she
didn't have the massive following.
No, but she had people who were like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Oh my God." Like,
yeah, because we've seen that, haven't we, on not just Instagram, on all of the social medias, that kind of pity fishing, if you like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, oh, why do people have to be such bastards? Why do people want to treat you so poorly? How come, someone you thought was your friend is not your friend anymore? And I'm sick of this bullshit. Everyone's a cunt, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And all the friends pile and go, "Oh God, darling, you're okay."
Sending hugs, love hearts,
sending hugs,
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So she's doing it with really serious illnesses. All fake, all made up.
This girl needs attention. What's going on for her?
So what's interesting is that the reporter asks Belle, "Did you never think to go to a hospital to verify what this fake guy, Mark Johns, who doesn't exist, with a box with some lights on it, told you?" And she says that she did go to a hospital. She reckons she went to the Royal Alfred Hospital in Melbourne and got a brain scan in 2010. This is a quote. "I went to the Alfred Hospital and I contacted Mark and I said to him, I'm not sure where things are at, so I want to go and get a brain scan. He made me sign paperwork which enlisted him as my medical professional, where the scan from the Alfred Hospital would be passed directly onto him. So we could consult on it, and he brought in scans and it showed a brain tumour."
So this is all easily verifiable?
Well, Mark Johns doesn't exist.
Yeah. So if there's somebody at the Prince Alfred signing off her medical reports to be sent to another medical professional by the name of Mark Johns, then that would be
easy to have a paper trail. Well,
yeah,
she did go for a scan in 2010. And according to officials at the Royal Alfred, who I guess do not want their reputation tarnished by this fraudster, so they're releasing information.
Right.
They say her scan showed no signs of anything abnormal. Clean bill of health, which they told her in 2011.
All right.
So she definitely knew in 2011, 2 years, right, before she sold her fake cancer story to the world. She knew she did not have brain cancer.
She's been in there. She's been a bit medicalized. She's had issues with health or whatever. She's been inside the hospital. She's had tests. They've shown to be negative.
She's had no health issues. She's gone in there for...
a test which revealed it was nothing.
Yes. She's gone in there for fake symptoms. She wants to be sick. She wants to be sick. So this bitch goes in. She has nothing wrong with her, but she starts her wellness Instagram anyway. She makes a shit ton of moolah on Insta from her app, from her cookbook. She was never a cancer survivor because she never had cancer. And the 60 Minutes reporter puts it to Belle that she has Munchausen's or some other kind of mental health disorder. And Belle basically says, no, it's not true.
Well, she would say that.
Well, she says, quote, I don't accept that because I don't feel that I do. And with Munchausen's, it's a disorder where you create these syndromes and you believe it.
Yeah.
And you cause physical pain for that to be believed. And I'm not doing that, and I didn't do that.
So she's not bashing her tits with paddles to give herself the bruising or
No.
injecting herself with needles just to have some marks on her elbows.
She, in her brain, thinks that she's done nothing
She's
wrong.
created a fantasy world where these things actually happened. I think she's having difficulty actually differentiating between what's real and what's not.
Well,
It's fantasist.
she can't give it up because, like I said, in 2014, she apparently found another quack doctor who told her the brain cancer that she didn't have had now spread throughout her body. Oh, yeah, and Belle could not wait to share this news with her followers. She wrote, and this is a quote, "With frustration and ache in my heart, it hurts me to find space tonight to let you all know with love and strength that I've been diagnosed with a 3rd and 4th cancer."
You're a bitch. I hope she hasn't got it because...
She fucking has nothing.
Okay, good.
This bitch has not a single cancer cell in her body.
Okay, as long as you're sure.
This new doctor, unlike Mark Johns, does exist. But when 60 Minutes
He
spoke
does?
to him, he denied telling her anything like that. He said
Oh.
he's not even qualified to diagnose cancer.
What?
Belle said he's lying.
What?
She said he told me that I have a brain tumour, which she doesn't have.
This is insane.
That it was still there and that she had new and secondary cancers. And that he apparently used those first similar machines, box with lights on it, to diagnose.
Reverse engineered alien technology or whatever it is that she keeps getting
But
subjected to.
But throughout the whole thing, she takes no accountability for any of it. And she says, "I have not been intentionally untruthful. I've been openly conveying and speaking about what was my reality." Very clever wording, right?
Yes, it is. So that shows that she has some sort of understanding that it's not truthful. She hasn't had a psychotic break. She's not seeing those things. She's not feeling those things. She's not experiencing those things.
No.
Even if no one else can see or hear or...
Well, she's basically saying the doctors tricked her into believing she was dying. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
But then you're probably wondering how it all fell apart for her.
Yeah.
Well, aside from making top dollar from her app and cookbook, Belle was also raising money for cancer charities and was getting donations from her followers to then give to the various charities. Except she kept all the money. And she never gave it to the charities.
There we are.
And the charities are like, cough up, bitch. So, according to Wikipedia, on the 6th of May in 2016, Consumer Affairs Victoria announced legal action against Belle Gibson for, quote, false claims by Ms. Gibson and her company concerning her diagnosis with terminal brain cancer, her rejection of conventional cancer treatments in favour of natural remedies, and the donation of proceeds to various charities. Penguin Australia agreed to pay $30,000 to the Victorian Consumer Law Fund as a penalty for releasing the whole pantry without fact-checking.
Right.
Fuck yeah, they should be paying the rest as well. Then, on the 15th of March in 2017, the Federal Court of Australia concluded that, quote, Ms. Gibson had no reasonable basis to believe she had cancer, and she was fined $410,000 for making false claims about her donations to charity. However, the judge accepted Belle's story that she was acting out of delusion rather than criminal intent. What the actual fuck? This
Well-
girl is literally getting away with hurting thousands of people and pocketing all the money. It's heartbreaking. Her actions were described by Mark Feldman, who is a clinical professor of psychiatry, as Munchausen's by internet. That's now a thing.
That's, well, fair enough. Yeah, it has to be.
He said her actions were particularly predatory, as well as deceit on a grand scale for personal profit.
Yeah.
And on the 22nd of January 2020, the Sheriff's Office of Victoria, didn't even know that existed, conducted a search warrant at her home in Northcote in Melbourne and seized various bits and pieces of her stuff to try and recoup her unpaid fines, which, due to interests and costs, she owes the government more than $500,000.
Right.
But in February 2021, the federal court marked her case as abandoned because she's basically like, I'm broke. And as of this recording, Belle Gibson has not paid her outstanding fines. And apparently she received no money from Netflix for apple cider vinegar, but she is now apparently claiming she is Ethiopian and has been adopted by the Oromo people.
Oh. Oh, so it continues for Belle.
And so it continues.
And no one's helping her. No one's taking her on board and working with her psychologically. No.
I don't know.
She slipped through the net. Wow, what a tale.
I love that you're there. Instead of being outraged like me, you're like, is anyone helping her? And I'm like, this bitch needs to be behind bars. That's the difference between you and me. And that's the story of Belle Gibson and her cancer con. Bullshit.
Well, on the subject of scamming good people, do you remember Julia Wandel, the 23-year-old woman who went viral last year claiming to be Madeleine McCann? You brought it to our attention. Season 2, episode 20, I think it was, May 2021.
Yeah.
That's longer ago than I remember.
Well, she's been in and out of the news. I think that's when it first hit.
That's when you first spoke about it. Yeah. You revealed information on a psychic detective. It must have been one of those episodes that we love to do on psychic detectives. Yes. And it was about a woman called Fia Johansson, a.k.a. the Persian psychic, who's a celebrity medium, a film producer, clinical hypnotherapist, blah, 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 blah. Glamour puss. Also private investigator who was working with Julia as a client and felt sure that the DNA results would come back positive for her as being Madeleine. However, once those results were shared in 2023, Fia Johansson went on record to say that Julia was in fact 100% Polish, and it was not the case that she was the missing toddler.
I have to say, I think Madeleine McCann's dead.
Yeah.
It's sad that these fraudsters out there are trying to jump in on
Absolutely.
this.
It's not nice at all. It's terrible. And it's another case of look at me. Why are we looking at you people? What is going on for you? Why are you in need of this? So this is my big question, really. But going back to Dr. Fia Johansson, she said at first she didn't want to believe, saying about Julia, at first Julia didn't want to believe the DNA results. She was saying, what if someone changed the results? But I told her, stop this now. Yeah. She goes on to say, I can understand as a psychologist why she didn't want to believe her mother was her real mother. So clearly they've worked together as client and psychologist. Okay. So Julia's back in the news again with new DNA test results, Michelle. I don't know if you've seen it, but this time she's saying that a world expert has linked her to the crime scene, with her DNA being present there, and even suggested that Gerry McCann could be her biological father.
What? Oh my God. Okay.
So Wandelt, also known as Julia Wendell, made headlines in 2023 when she first appeared on Dr. Phil and took DNA tests to prove her theory. But since then it's been debunked, as I said, and she's now claiming a fresh analysis of hair and saliva from the scene shows a 69.23% match, which supposedly proves a family connection.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, Andreas and I just watched this series about some murders in Sweden, which...
The Order murders?
No, it's not. This was a real murder, real murders. Oh. In fact, I might even do a story to pin that, but DNA was involved and you need more than 69%, love.
Oh. So she's obviously running to the media with this information and it's not really of any import, I suppose. But despite these claims, both her Polish parents and the McCanns, they've all refused DNA tests, and the Met Police are still working with Portuguese and German authorities on the case. Julia posted part of the results on social media. Feels a little similar to your Belle Gibson, actually, saying the expert DNA analysts concluded she is part British and part Irish, not 100% Polish, as we were first led to believe from her first lot of tests. But then forensic expert Dr. Monty Miller... Monty Miller, yes.
Monty Miller. That is the best name. That's almost as good as Sue Snell.
He has a PhD in biochemistry and he weighed in on these results. And while he confirmed that Wandelt is not an exact match, as you said, to the DNA found at the scene, he said her profile is more similar than expected at random and shows an almost certain family connection. He's just a guy who's weighed in. So what does this actually mean, Michelle? How can police explain her DNA being linked to the crime scene?
Well, is it actually linked, or is it just that there's a family connection, because DNA is fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. The genealogy, you don't have to have a direct match for there to be a family connection. You have to go back. And then it's very interesting. Right, I'm going to have to do this story because it will explain it more about these Swedish murders.
Wow, you know an awful lot about the DNA from one TV show.
Well, I only watch this bloody series.
Oh. Well, thanks to Julia Wandelt, another woman has now come forward with a similar claim. This is Eugenia Collins, who is a 22-year-old from Arkansas, and she is insisting that she is the real Madeleine McCann, despite offering no credible evidence.
Oh, my God.
She says she first suspected a connection after seeing Wandelt on Dr. Phil, and she noticed similarities between herself and Madeleine. She said, if it wasn't for me seeing her, being Julia, on Dr. Phil, I would never have known. In a way, her stupidity actually helped me find my family. Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
She says she recognised herself in age progression images of Madeleine and became convinced it was her. Despite being born before Madeleine, Collins took an ancestry DNA test, and it shows that she is 68% English and Northwestern European, though it found no link to the McCanns. And Arkansas police have not taken her claim seriously, nor have the UK authorities. They haven't responded, but she's in the media all the same. And Eugenia said she became suspicious of her past after struggling to get an ID and not being able to obtain a birth cert. She said, I've never seen an original birth certificate, just one with a different name crossed out and mine written above it.
What?
I know. It's a bit dodgy, isn't it?
If that's even true. I mean, Geordie, in your personal opinion, who and why would you want to be Madeleine McCann?
Attention.
Is that it?
And not being happy with your own family.
Right.
And your life. And this is what I believe these two women have in common with each other, Eugenia and Julia. I do think that they've had a pretty rough time of it. And in their mind, being kidnapped, I'll go on and tell you about it. Because despite refusing to share her mother's name, Eugenia insists she's Madeleine McCann, and she points to an old school creative writing story that she found, which she believes describes her kidnapping. Plus, she's also got photos of herself in a dress similar to one that Madeleine was wearing in a picture. So she's really grasping at straws. Of course, social media users have dismissed her claims. They say she's not got the same eye defect that Madeleine has, you know, the kind of like double pupil on one side. And also, Eugenia has gone on to say that the suspect in the case, which is that German guy, Christian Bruckner, is her father, despite them having different names. She said that she's seen pictures and they look alike. She doesn't really know her father very well. He's a jailbird, whatever. She thinks it's him.
Have you seen pictures of her? Does she look like Madeleine McCann?
It's hard to say. I think it's hard to say. She's a blonde, blue-eyed girl, pretty girl. Since this has all happened, you know that Julia Wandelt has been arrested for harassing the McCanns?
No.
Yeah, she has. I just want to know what was... like you just asked me, what's going on? Is this just another case of internet-fueled delusion, or is there more to the story? And I actually think there's an interesting psychological angle to explore here. Like, why do they feel they don't belong with their birth families? Some people have been known to imagine that they have been adopted or swapped at birth because they either don't fit in with their families or their families just aren't great for them.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a mix of identity confusion, dissociation, a desire for a more meaningful narrative about their lives.
I mean, look, I remember as a kid, something would go wrong, you'd get angry and you'd be like, I wish I was adopted. Because you just...
Well, I never said that because I knew I was.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different situation, but it was kind of that thing of, I couldn't possibly be part of this family. I wish I was adopted.
Well, I've heard, from other people that I know that have said, I always wondered if I belonged in this family. I've heard it.
Of course I knew I was never adopted. It's just one of those things you say in the heat of the moment just to be like horrible. But yes, I'm sure there are all those stories of people who literally were accidentally swapped at birth and ended up in the wrong family.
Exactly.
You know, it happens.
It does happen. So I've also explored a few other reasons why these girls, including Belle Gibson, I'm going to include her into this as well, having now heard about her. It could be that they're escaping a difficult reality, like I said, where they've experienced trauma, neglect, a lack of belonging. So the idea of being abducted rather than simply unwanted or mistreated can offer an explanation that feels easier to accept, and it reframes their suffering as a case of mistaken identity rather than rejection.
Right.
Or
okay.
it could be, and this is what I think about Belle Gibson, just having heard what you've had to say about her. Fantasy is a coping mechanism where people who struggle with their sense of self or their place in the world might develop an elaborate narrative that feels more accurate than their real life does, and they wish they were the victim of an abduction or a health crisis as a way to provide or justify why they feel different.
Or they're just attention seekers.
Well, there's that too. They are attention seeking or needing validation. It might not be consciously deceiving people. They've attached themselves to high profile cases or medical issues to get attention, sympathy, and a sense of feeling important, which might be lacking in their real lives.
But it's also like murderers who insert themselves into cases. They want the recognition. They want to be known. They want people to know how clever they are, that they've deceived everyone. Yeah. It's like weird. Wow.
But it does happen. Now, that's all I've got on those ladies. And what I wanted to just say before I finish up is that I had another eavesdropper write in, and he sent us something which I just had to look into. But there's not much information out there. Al Teggett, thank you for writing. He pinged over this from the Sydney Morning Herald, which is called, well, I've called it the Curse Remover Con.
Okay.
Because today's all about cons, right?
Yes, it is.
Imagine yourself, Michelle, you're at Sydney Airport. You know the airport well, so do I. You're about to board a one-way flight to the United Kingdom. I've done that. Your bags are packed. You're ready for a new life overseas, but there's a problem. You're suspected of defrauding victims out of hundreds and thousands of dollars, Australian dollars that is, through curse removals and spiritual cleansings. And this is what happened to a lady called Maria Williams, her husband Larry, and her sister Tina Montana in August 2024.
Another good name, Tina Montana.
Tina Montana. For a month before they tried to leave Australia for a new life in the UK, these three had been under surveillance by investigators. And at their sentencing in court in November 24, spoiler, they got caught, Supreme Court Justice Julia Lonergan said of Maria Williams during the bail hearing, she's a fraud and a liar. That's the problem, isn't it?
Right.
So Maria Williams, she's 47. She's faced serious allegations of obtaining financial advantages through dishonest means, which is basically performing what she called spiritual cleansings and curse removals for dollar.
Right. Okay. Oh, God, more people preying on the vulnerable.
Of course. According to the authorities, her alleged fraud spans more than 2 decades and totals nearly $300,000 stolen from vulnerable victims. Right. And what's interesting about this case is Maria Williams's apparent history. The Justice Lonergan, who said before, she's described her as a woman with substantial skill and ability and front in the arts of lying and manipulation, which wasn't just Judge Lonergan throwing shade, but an explanation for denying Maria Williams bail, saying that she was worried this woman just wouldn't turn up to court.
And skip out somewhere. Yeah.
And skip, exactly. Maria's attorney, William Brewer, tried to argue that modern tracking systems would prevent this from happening, but Justice Lonergan wasn't buying it. So after Maria Williams was arrested, police had a phone call from a man identifying himself as Michael Stereo, a.k.a. the King of the Gypsies, self-proclaimed.
What?
I don't know. That's all I don't know why he rang and said, "G'day, I'm
King of the Gypsies. I'm the King of the Stereo." What? Carwood Warehouse saves you heaps.
Come on down to Michael Stereo's King of the Gypsies Stereo Warehouse. So Stereo said he was a private investigator who had been tracking the Williams family's alleged crimes. He even offered to partner with detectives to help with their investigation.
See, inserting themselves into the investigation.
Because, Michelle, I think you've got the idea here. Stereo was not that guy. He was actually Maria Williams' uncle.
Right.
And according to court documents, he was allegedly feeding false information to police at the behest of Maria Williams. So she's a tricky little fish, this one.
She is. She's a master manipulator.
So ultimately they were all found out, and Maria Williams is now behind bars, while her co-accused husband Larry Williams was scheduled to appear in court in February last month, 2025, which was too soon for me to get the information about what happened, soz. And her sister, Tina Montana, should have been in court this month, March. So that's out there for anyone who would wish to find out. All that information was behind a paywall. I was too tight to pay for it to get through, but I'd love to know more about these spiritual cleansings and curse removals. How were they sold to the victims? What made people vulnerable to these scams? And how many others might have fallen prey to similar schemes? That's what I want to know. Eavesdroppers out there, please write in. You know what you've got to do. Tell us.
What I also find interesting here is they almost got away with it. They were literally at the airport. I wonder if they, you know how at Sydney Airport they've got that little SYD where everyone has their photo taken before you go through into immigration. Right. I wonder if they'd done all of that. They waved.
How far did they get?
Guys. Oh my God. They really thought we're home free. And then
bums on seats in the aeroplane.
And then Border Patrol are like, nope, come with me.
It's terrible,
Holy
isn't it?
shit. It's like psychic mafia, kind of, a little bit, harking back to my story a few weeks ago. The things people will do for $1.
Well, these are desperate times, clearly, right?
I mean, just look at Belle Gibson. Fuck me.
She went all the way. And she even sat for an interview with one of Australia's biggest current affairs TV programs. It's gone global.
Well, she did get paid like $70,000 or something. So she was probably hard up.
But she's not paying off her debts with that.
Oh, fuck no. She's kept all the money. She's such a scammer. And now she's obviously, you know, been adopted by the Ethiopian community who had no idea who she was. And they're now trying to, like, give her back.
We don't want her anymore.
Well, why would you? You know, she brings shame. What she did is it's not okay. I will watch Apple Cider Vinegar. Apparently, it focuses more on her rivalry with other wellness
people. Oh.
But ones who really did have cancer, and in particular one influencer who did die.
Oh, shit.
You know, but Belle's the image of health and still here because never had cancer.
Awful, isn't it?
It's really terrible. But anyway, eavesdroppers, if you have any information, maybe you knew Belle if you're an Australian eavesdropper. You never know. It's a small place. Or you just want to weigh in with your opinion about Belle Gibson. Maybe you bought her cookbook. Maybe she's got some great recipes.
Maybe there's a few that we can share on the Patreon.
The CancerCon coleslaw. Write in. Do write in. We love when you write in. Or send a voice note even.
Do write in. Yeah, voice notes are great too. Speaking of Patreon, we have a new episode up there. I had a little chitty-chatty time with our wonderful modern mystic, Tamira, talking about March. We're a bit short on time because we were chatting so hard beforehand and I ran out of time on my Zoom because I don't have the full hour. But go and check it out over there if you're a patron. If you're not, why not? If not, why not?
Yeah. How about your bros? How about your bitches?
Yeah. Help a bitch out. Go over to patreon.com/eavesdroppin. Something. I don't remember the rest. Sign up, pop a coin in the slot. You know what you've got to do. You get access to all the links. You get access to extra content. And you get access to the wonderful guide of what's on telly to watch.
Oh, and Geordie, with all of that, I think really there's only 3 things left to say.
Wherever you are.
Whatever you do.
Just keep eavesdropping. You missed a bit.
Eavesdropping, eavesdropping, dropping, eavesdropping, dropping, eavesdropping, eavesdropping, dropping, dropping.